There's a couple of you on, so we'll just get started. First of all, for those of you that don't know me already, my name is Brandon Lenhoff. Been in financial services for about 18 years in total now. My very first client-facing role was actually during the 2008 market crash. I worked for a broker-dealer at that point, got securities licensed while I was there. And that was a really stressful way for me to get my start, but it was also really eye-opening as well. You know, it really showed me how it could affect people that did not have a proper safe bucket strategy set up for themselves in retirement. So ever since then, what I've really been looking into is safe bucket strategies for my clients. So one of those safe bucket strategies is actually an annuity. And there are a lot of different annuities out there, but today on this webinar, I just want to go over the various types, first of all. And then I also just want to go over a quick presentation that I put together because there's a lot of misconceptions about them. I mean, annuities can be really good if you get the right annuity for what you are trying to accomplish. So it's all about getting a better idea of what your goals and needs are and where you're at right now and what you're looking to do, and putting together a plan that makes the most sense for your situation. And so what we do is when we first meet with a client, we do a needs analysis first. We get a better idea of, you know, what is your savings right now? What are your income goals in retirement? Do you have any pensions? What's your Social Security going to look like? We gather all that information. Then we also want to know, hey, what is the comfortable amount that you need to live on monthly in retirement? So then that way we can replace your income when you do retire. And once we do that, we are going to take that back and we're going to take some time to research, and then we're going to put together a plan for you. Now, we do take a team approach. Me and my team, we handle safe bucket strategies, but we do have financial advisors on staff as well that we partner with who help our clients with anything they want to have in the market and maybe take more risk with. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get into this a little bit more. I'm going to share my screen. Whoops, I don't think that's showing up quite right. Bear with me a second. All right. Hopefully you can see that a little better. Can you guys let me know in the comments? Can you just make a quick comment if you can see my screen okay? I'll wait just a second here to hear from you guys. Okay, I see a couple comments here. All right. Yeah, looks like you can see my screen okay. So what we're looking at here are just 4 different quadrants of retirement. So this is, again, just going to be that basic overview. The other thing I want to mention really quick, if anybody is looking to book a time with us and learn more, go ahead, and I did pin a comment there where you can click a link to get right to our calendar. And you can pick a time that works best for you, and it will book that time. You can also, I have my phone number in there as well, so you can always call or text me as well. Keep in mind that what we're going to go over today is just an example. we would want to tailor something to your needs, but I just want to go over some basics. So what you're looking at here is just a pie graph showing 4 different quadrants of retirement. So top left-hand corner, you do have pension and Social Security. These are going to be lifetime income amounts that come to you. Pretty self-explanatory. I think everybody knows what those are, but the reason why I like to point them out is it is a part of the overall plan. Most of us are used to having some form of a paycheck, and we're not all used to having this lump sum of cash that we got to learn how to spend down appropriately, right? So what's nice about any kind of pension a person may have or Social Security is it's obviously going to help with that budgeting. Now, taxable income. These are going to be any accounts that you have like 403Bs, 401Ks, IRAs, 457s. There are more out there that are like this. It's just basically a tax code. A lot of people think, hey, I have an IRA, and they think that's an investment. It's really just a tax code and a way that the IRS knows how to handle that account tax-wise. They're all pretty much the same, just kind of depends on who you work for or where you're investing, but you're putting money into this now. You're not paying any taxes now. You're reducing your taxable income now. The money is going to grow tax deferred, but when you do take income in retirement, you are going to pay taxes at that time. So what we do a lot of times with people is we're meeting with people that are getting maybe a little bit closer to retirement, or maybe people that have left a previous job, and we will take their 401ks, 403Bs, whatever they have at that employer, and we will do a rollover into a traditional IRA, and that underlying investment will be an annuity. And if you're below 59 and a half, typically the only way your company is going to let you do this is if you are no longer working with them. So if you have an old 401k, you're going to be able to take that 401k money, do a rollover, and put it into a traditional IRA, and you can have an annuity as that underlying investment in the traditional IRA. No tax consequences on the transfer because we stay within the same tax code. If you are 59 and a half and you are still working, many of your employers will allow you to take a distribution even while you are still working with them. So we can do a rollover with your lump sum. We always tell people, hey, best money's free money. So, we still encourage you to keep putting that, whatever the match is, let's say it's 5%, 10%, whatever it may be that your employer does, we would still say, hey, it's still a good idea to get that match in there, because you're basically getting 100% return on that match. But let's get that lump sum out, and let's maybe roll it into something else where we can protect it and protect it from market losses. So that's something that we do with the taxable income. Then there's tax-free income. So these are going to be options like Roth IRAs, municipal bonds, cash value life insurance. These are all options where you're going to pay your taxes now, then you're going to invest into them. They're going to grow tax deferred. And not only that, but you're going to take tax-free distributions in retirement as well. So sometimes people like to invest in these types of options because they're betting that, hey, in the future, I'm betting that taxes are going to be more. At the end of the day, no matter what you're doing, as long as you're saving, that's a good thing. But if you are for the purposes of this conversation, let's say you have a Roth IRA that you want to move into an indexed annuity, you can do that. We would do a direct transfer into another Roth IRA, and then that underlying investment would be the annuity. Then there's going to be non-qualified annuities. These are going to be any money that you are taking from, say, a checking or savings account. Maybe you have a brokerage account that has money in it that isn't a qualified account. So meaning like a qualified retirement account. You can still put your money into an annuity there. It would just be a non-qualified annuity. One of the benefits there is it is going to grow tax deferred. And so you're not going to pay taxes on the gains until you start taking distributions. Then the last piece of retirement is going to be life insurance and living benefits. Heart attack, stroke, cancer, terminal illness, disability. The big one being in-home healthcare and nursing home. Obviously, those two things can completely wipe out a person's retirement savings. So sometimes people want additional protection for that as well. But what we really look to do is we want to help people fill their income gap. So their income gap is going to be the difference between what you're used to making while you're working and Social Security wages, pension wages, whatever those may be. Most of us are only going to have Social Security. Few of us are lucky enough to have a pension, but Social Security, that's usually a pretty big gap in between what you're used to making and Social Security wages. So we want to find solutions that are going to help bridge that gap. So we take what you have invested or what you're going to continue to invest to help bridge that gap. And one of the ways that we can do that is with an annuity. There are several things we can do, but an annuity can also work. Now, when it comes to investing, there are tons of different options out there, right? But they're going to typically fall under two different categories. They are either going to be variable funds, like this blue line here. And with those, they're going to be connected to the market. And so anytime that you have something that's connected to the market, what's going to happen is you're going to participate in all the gains. So that's good. But you're also going to participate in all of the losses as well. So typically, especially as we're getting closer and closer to retirement, we're wanting to move more and more money into safety, because there's the accumulation phase of retirement and saving for retirement. Then there's the distribution phase. And I say this is really, really important, especially once a person is probably getting somewhere in their 50s to start to consider, hey, I better start looking at moving some of this into safety. Because although growth funds can be really good in the long term, they are not that great for income, but safe bucket options are. So the challenge there is, though, of course, finding out what are some good safe bucket options, right? So back when I worked with that broker dealer that I talked about, one of the rules of thumb that we would go by, and complete just rule of thumb, then there's risk tolerance that a client has as well. But let's say you take 100 minus somebody's age, and let's say somebody's 60 years old. That's going to leave you with 40. That would mean maybe roughly 40% of their portfolio could be in the market. Then everything else we got to put into some form of safety, something that's not going to lose as much, but maybe not gain as much either. The challenge there is finding a good safe bucket option. And not only that, but a traditional money manager is also going to charge you an annual fee, that management fee. And that management fee is going to vary, but it usually honestly just depends on how much money you have. But it's usually going to be somewhere between 1.5% of your entire portfolio. Well, if you've got a portion of your portfolio that not only you could lose a little bit, but let's say that you're only gaining maybe 3-4% on average, maybe 5%, but you got 1.5% eating away at that safe bucket portion. That doesn't make a lot of sense. You're not really staying ahead of inflation there. And not only that, you're not really protected from the downside that much. You can still lose money. As an example, one option a lot of people would traditionally get into would be bonds. Well, bonds are inversely related to interest rates. Interest rates have been going on the rise this year because they're trying to hedge inflation. So what's been happening to bonds? They've been going down. So literally this year, there are people in retirement that they are getting killed on any portion they have in the market this year, because we're down quite a bit this year, as I'm sure you all know. But then also they're losing money on their safe bucket side, and they're being charged a management fee on top of it. And that can get really dangerous in retirement. So we look at annuities for those options. We just want to find the one that's tailored best for you. And the reason why we look at annuities is we want to look at options where we're participating in portions of the gains of the market. So you're not going to get 100% of the upswing of the market. But in exchange, you never lose any of your principal or any of your gains. So you start to get more of a stair step effect that you can see in this orange line here. And not only that, but we look at options that do not have an annual fee. A lot of annuities do have an annual fee, but we look at options that do not, because we do not want an annual fee eating away at our clients' safe bucket portion of their portfolio. Then if a person still has more that they want to have in the market, what they can do is they can be really aggressive with that portion, right? And you can be aggressive with it because we already know that we've got your income needs figured out with your safe bucket, with pensions you may have, with Social Security. So you're not going to have to sweat what the market's doing. You can let it do its thing and let that financial advisor earn that management fee on that piece. That way, we're going to keep your risk tolerance exactly where you want it anyway, especially for your age and where you're at. And then we're also going to keep your overall fees low, because the large portion of your safe bucket is going to be, the large portion of your portfolio will be a safe bucket at that point. And so there will be no annual fee on the annuity. And then we can just be aggressive with that smaller portion that's in the market. So that is why we look at annuities, just basically as a replacement to traditional methods that are out there. But as far as why you'd want to look into having a good safe bucket strategy for retirement, I think this illustrates it really well. So what this shows here is this shows 3 different people in retirement. So we've got Mr. Green, Mr. Blue, and Miss Gold. You'll notice that they were each exactly the same when they retired. So they were each 65 years old. They each had saved $1 million for retirement. They each averaged a 6% annual rate of return over the 25 years we're looking at here, between ages 65 and 90. And by the way, these returns that we picked up, these are actual market returns, S&P 500 returns, but they're just flip-flopped. And they each were also spending down the same amount on their lump sum. So they were each taking 5% of their lump sum. So 5% of $1 million would be $50,000 per year as income. The only thing that was different about them is when they retired and how they were diversified. So Mr. Green and Mr. Blue, they were both set up in a more traditional setup where, you know, maybe you're more strong in stocks and bonds and things where it goes up and down. But Mr. Green, he retired in an up market. And so he had some big gains early on, which made it okay to continue to spend this $50,000 down per year. He did just fine. He never ran out. He had plenty of money left at the end of his life. However, you got Mr. Blue on the flip side here. He's more representative of people over the last 20 years of retirement, 20, 25 years of retirement. And he retired in a down market. And this is the biggest challenge, is when you have these big losses early on and you're relying on this income, you're selling off shares that just never have an opportunity to bounce ever again. Because you took it as income and you budgeted, and you probably would have sat down with your financial advisor and figured out, hey, we can safely spend down 5% and we're going to be all right. And a lot of people that did this, Mr. Blue, he ran out. And as far as safe spend down amounts, there have been a lot of different theories out there. You can look it up. You can Google the 4% rule right now if you want to, and you're going to see different things pop up on Investopedia, Bankrate, all sorts of stuff. It'll tell you what that is, but essentially it has actually moved around. They are just theories that financial advisors have come up with. It started out at like 5.5%. And what that is just the safe spend and down amount that you can have in your portfolio and not run out. Then it went to 5%. Then there's other theories that were 4%. Well, a lot of people that live by that 4% rule over the last 20 years, they ran out because, we had the market crash, and during September 11th, we had a market crash again during 2008. So if you actually look at January 2001 to January 2011, and you look at, say, the S&P 500 average rate of return per year, it was actually almost negative 1% per year. So, I mean, people were just getting crushed. And obviously there were years where they're losing 20, 30, 50%. And if that's a year that they had to take any income, obviously that really hurt them. So what they have done is, there's other theories out there about the safe spend down amount being 2.9%. If you take your money and you bury it in a can in your backyard and just take out 3% of it every year, you're not going to run out. So what they're basically saying is, hey, we don't really know. This isn't really built for income. It's built for long-term growth. Where, on the other hand, like Miss Gold here, I need to pick a different color. This isn't that easy to see, but you can see here, she spent that same 50 grand down per year, and she never ran out. Now, in the end, she did not do as well as Mr. Green, but she did not have to flip a coin and roll the dice on her probability of success of not running out of money in retirement. The safe spend down amount in safe bucket options about 4.8%, and a lot of them are going to offer guarantees on income as well. So annuities offer that. IULs, index universal life policies, offer that as well for some of our younger viewers. But for purposes of this conversation, obviously annuities, they will play a big part in this as well, because we can guarantee that income and give a person more peace of mind. So that's the whole goal. We don't say that anything is ever better than another, but anything that you have in the market is really best for long-term growth. You can obviously take advantage of dollar cost averaging, things of that nature. If you've got a 401k and you got a match, obviously that's great. Take the match. But for a portion of your portfolio that you want to keep safe, having a good safe bucket option is always a good idea. So now let me kind of get into actual annuities and why we use them. So fixed indexed annuities. Try to shrink this down a little bit. All right, so there are a lot of annuities out there, but you're going to see, if you Google annuities, you're going to see a lot of bad reviews on them. In fact, if you saw any of my advertisement for this, there's a lot of people just putting a lot of misconceptions out there. It's not necessarily misconceptions. It's just they probably got into an annuity that wasn't the right fit for them. So there are, the very first annuities were called single premium immediate annuities. They do still have those. I don't typically see a good fit for those in anybody's situation. I've never written one, but back in the day when they first started, what you would do is you would take a lump sum of cash, you would give it to the insurance company, and then the insurance company would decide how much they're going to pay you out for the rest of your life. If you passed away, if you gave them, say, $100,000, and let's say they're going to pay you, I don't know, $500 a month, whatever it was going to be, but you passed away in month 2, well, the insurance company is keeping all that money. So not a very good deal for their beneficiaries if they passed away early. I personally don't think I would ever want to get into something like that. Then there are different kind of annuities that are kind of like single premium. They can be set up as deferred annuities as well, where you'll see income options with period certain and things of that nature. I'm not super in love with those either, because like a period certain annuity, what that'll be is, hey, we guarantee however much it was going to be. Let's say it was $500 a month that they're going to pay you. We're going to pay you that for sure. Or if you pass away, and let's say it was a 10-year period certain, if you pass away within 10 years, let's say you pass away in year 1, they're still going to pay for the next 9 years that $500 a month to your beneficiary. At least that's a little bit better than the regular single premium annuity, single premium immediate annuity, but still don't necessarily love that concept either. They've really evolved past that. There are also variable annuities. Variable annuities, I talk to a lot of financial advisors about this as well who sell them. or who have the ability to sell them. And they don't make a lot of sense because you can lose money in them. So as an example, in the broker dealer I was working with, I helped a lot of people. I was servicing calls on a lot of variable annuities. And I was just thinking, why would anybody put their money in this? There are very limited guarantees, but you may as well just have your money in the market, because you have a bunch of sub accounts. You usually do have a fixed account you can put your money in, but then the sub accounts that you put your money into are typically going to be in the market. Again, that's designed for long-term growth. That's not really that great for you for income and retirement. Why would you not just have that money in the market? Because once you put your money in an annuity, you lose a little bit of your liquidity. Why would you wrap insurance around a variable type of product? May as well just leave that to the actual market and mutual funds and different investments that are out there. There are fixed annuities. Fixed annuities can also be called multi-year guaranteed annuities. These are a lot like a CD with a bank, but you're typically going to find a lot better rates. I have some of our multi-year guarantee annuities. I'd have to double check the rates. Have been going up, but the last time I saw it was around 4.6 on a 7-year annuity option, which is a lot better than CDs are doing. But they're just going to pay you a fixed amount for a certain amount of time. The difference between those and, say, a CD at a bank is you are going to have liquidity, and each company varies a little bit. But let's say you have a 7-year annuity. On a fixed annuity, you're usually going to have access to whatever that, let's say the interest rate is 4.6%. You're usually going to have access to at least that during the surrender charge period. So 4.6% of your entire portfolio. Or they might have liquidity of 5%, 10% a year. But then once you're out of the surrender charge period, you then of course have access to all of your money. But my favorite annuities are going to be fixed indexed annuities. It's the only kind that I would really get into. What they do is they offer guarantees. They can see here. They're usually going to have a fixed rate of interest. They're going to have those sub accounts that I talked about with variable annuities. But one of those sub accounts is going to be a fixed account. It's going to have a certain amount of interest. So, it might be 2.5, 3, 3.5, depending on the company. But the accumulation potential in these is really good, or it can be. So the basic idea with a fixed indexed annuity is you're going to participate in portions of the upswing of the market, never any of the downturn. As you can see here, protection from market downturns. But they're not all built the same. We are an independent brokerage, so we have contracts with a bunch of carriers. I can't even count all the carriers we have access to. If we find out that they have good products, we just grab them. But with fixed indexed annuities, you might find options where they have caps. So what a cap is, let's say you have a 4% cap on an annuity, and let's say it's indexed against the S&P 500, and let's say it's a 1-year point to point. What that'll mean is if you put your money in today, they are going to base how much interest credit you get 1 year from now, dependent on how much the S&P 500 goes up over that year. But the most they'll give you is that 4% if you have a cap. That's not so great. If you have a year like last year where the market goes up like 30%, you're still capped at 4%. That's not that good. We like to look at options where, first of all, there's higher caps, but also that have participation rates. Participation rates are going to offer percentages of the upswing of the market. And all those rates can vary state to state and product to product, and not all products are available in every state. So I can't necessarily tell you exactly what it would be for you, but if you want to learn more about what those would be for you specifically, just reach out and we can tell you what they would be in your state. But the basic idea is a participation rate gives you that percentage of the upswing. And when you get a percentage of the upswing, you get a lot better returns when the market is doing really well. They also have something called a spread. So maybe the spread, say 2 or 3%. What they're basically going to do is if the market goes up 30%, they're going to subtract out 3%, and you would get a 27% interest credit. So obviously that can be good for big upswings in the market as well, which is why many of our clients over the last 7 years or so, when the market's really been going up, they have been getting, 10, 15, 20, 25% interest credits that have been locked in, that they can never lose. And then when the market goes down, they don't lose anything, but they reset at the bottom of that index, and then they get to enjoy those returns again. So we look at options that are going to have the greatest growth potential for our clients. The other thing we make sure to look for are options that do not have an annual fee. Many of them do have an annual fee. We do not like to, like I said, we do not like to have any option in our client's safe bucket that's eating away at their account balance when the market's going backwards. So as long as you live by the rules that the annuity sets out, you will not have a fee in the products that we offer for our clients. Then income. So there are annuities that really focus on growth. And then there are annuities that really focus on income. So there can be a fixed indexed annuity. There are fixed indexed annuities that really, really focus on growth of your actual cash. And there are some that really, really focus on just income. There's a particular product, it's not available in every state, but there is a particular product out there in some states that actually kind of blends both of them that I really, really like because it doesn't have annual fees. It tries to grow your real cash as much as possible, but it also gives you a guaranteed payout option. Then death benefit. The death benefit in the annuities we look at are always going to be whatever your account balance is, even if it's an income focused annuity. So a lot of people think, hey, if I turn on my income and I die tomorrow, all that cash that I have is gone. Not the case at all. With the right annuity, that's not the case. So what we look at, of course, are going to be options that give you the peace of mind for how much income you're going to have for the rest of your life. If you live really long and you spend all your cash, you're still going to get your income for the rest of your life. Then there wouldn't be any death benefit left over for your beneficiaries. But if you have cash left that you have not spent, much like, say, a 401k or an IRA or anything else you may have, a brokerage account, anything else you may have your retirement funds in, it will pay whatever's left. If you spend it all, then you don't have anything else to leave to your kids. But the one good thing about an income type of annuity is at least you can never outlive your income. You might outlive your money, but you cannot outlive your income. So that can be a really good thing for your safe bucket strategy, especially when we're talking about, at the beginning of this presentation, I was talking about, hey, we want to look at your individual situation. We want to figure out what your income needs or wants are, and we want to reverse engineer that. So whatever your needs or wants are in retirement, we're going to look at your social pensions you have. And if we can get you enough income to give you peace of mind without any annual fees and income you can't outlive and a death benefit you can leave to your kids, we want to do that for you for your safe bucket. That's really what our goal is. And then that way you can let everything else you may have in the market just grow. Oh, and the other thing I want to mention, death benefits on annuities, they are probate free. So they avoid probate. It's considered an insurance product. So you don't have to worry about your beneficiaries waiting 9 months or longer for a judge to decide where the money's going. They send a death certificate to the company, and then they're paid out within a couple of weeks. All right, so free withdrawals and a surrender charge period example. So this is going to be the negative part of annuities, but it's not that negative if you just know what it is and you just stay within the rules, right? As long as you're aware about it going into it, then it's not going to be a problem. So every single one of these annuities and every single one of these companies is going to have a surrender charge period on their annuities. Most of them are going to have a 7, 10, and 14-year option. Some of them are going to vary a little bit. Some of them might have a 15-year. I think I've seen as far as 20-year options out there. But for the most part, it's going to be 7, 10, and 14-year options on a fixed indexed annuity. And with this, what I'm going to show you here is an example of what surrender charges could look like. Keep in mind, this isn't hard and fast. This may not apply to you. This is just an example. This may not even be from an annuity that's in your state. I just want to show you this. I have to give that disclaimer since I'm live on Facebook right now. So free withdrawals. First of all, during the surrender charge period, you do have free withdrawals. Most annuities are going to make it so you cannot actually access your money during year one. So you can see year one, you cannot access without having any fees. So what we do is we just make sure that you have enough set aside to cover that first year, and you never put 100% of your money into these anyway. But after year one, this example is you have access to 5% of your account balance every single year during the surrender charge period until you are out of the surrender charge period. Once you're out of the surrender charge period, you then have access to 100% of your funds. You can still keep the product if you like it and you like how it's performing and you like the income you're getting from it. You can still keep it. You just have access to 100% of your money after that surrender charge period. And the reason why they got to do this, they got to go make more money with your money. If you think about it, there's the options that we have. There is no annual fee. You can only participate in gains and never any losses. They got to have some time to take your money and everybody else's money that they invest with, and it ends up being, billions of dollars with these insurance companies, and they go make more money with your money. And that's how they make money off of this. And then we get to get interest credits. And it's why they can offer good returns on this type of product, even though it doesn't have that annual fee. And the only way they can do that is to limit your access to your money during the surrender charge period. So to back up a little bit, when I was talking about 7, 10, and 14-year surrender charge period options, the reason why a person would go with a 10 or a 14-year surrender charge period is going to be just greater growth potential. So caps, participation rates, all of that is going to be typically bigger in a longer contract. So they're going to give you bigger portions of the upswing of the market. Some people are not comfortable with locking their money up that long though, and they would prefer just having, say, a 7-year contract. That way they don't have to wait 14 years to get at 100% of their money. So it's really depending on your comfort level. But as you can see, so this is an example of a 14-year surrender charge schedule. So in year one, you can see in this example, it starts higher. Then every year, it starts to go down by 1% until you are out of the surrender charge period. Then, like I said, no more surrender charges. So what this means is if you were to go above this 5% free withdrawal in this example, and let's say we're in year two, because you can't access anything in year one. So we're in year two and you decide to take out 10%. The first 5% is going to be free. There's going to be no cost to that. So it'll be completely free as long as you stay within that free withdrawal. The next 5% above that would be charged a 13.75% surrender fee just on that extra 5%. So if you take out 10%, first 5% is free. The next 5%, you would be charged a 13.75% fee, which is very high. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure to stay within free withdrawals. So this example I'm talking about is talking about a 5% per year access. All fixed annuities have differences there. There are some that offer you, say, 5% per year, but then if you don't access anything the year prior, the following, it carries over to the next year. So you have access to 10% the next year, 15, 20, 25, 30. Then there are some that just give you access to, say, 10% a year. So there's a lot of different options out there as far as liquidity. So if somebody really wants more liquidity, we just find them an option that has more liquidity. But in my opinion, when we talk about the 4% rule, 5% rule, and we go back to what we were talking about before with that, if you spend more than 5% down on your money, you're probably going to run out of money in retirement anyway. So the annuity is really designed to help with your safe bucket and turning your money into income in retirement. So in my opinion, it kind of is a safeguard to keep you within those limits of where you should stay so you don't run out. And we're not going to put 100% of your money into one of these anyway. So you should have another emergency fund on the side. But anyway, that's how they work. And obviously, if you have a 10-year surrender charge schedule, it's going to look different. If you have a 7-year surrender charge schedule, it's going to look different. And depending on what state you're in, surrender charges they're going to look different as well. So this is purely an example. Now, I did want to go over an example of returns in a fixed indexed annuity. Keep in mind, this is purely an example, but I will tell you that this is pulled from an actual annuity example. And this is from a 10-year period between December 1st, 2011 to December 31st, 2011, 2021. So it's the last 10 years essentially is what this is. And so this would be an example of putting $250,000 in and how this would have performed in the past. This is not a promise of how it would perform in the future, but this is an example of how a fixed indexed annuity can grow. So you put 250 grand in. This person would have gotten a 9.26% rate of return the first year. The next year, they would add a 20% rate of return, 8.86 in the third year. Then you see this 0% in year 4. So you can see that would have been a year that the market went backwards. So you can see this 250,000 grew to 357,000 in year 3. But even though in year 4, the market went backwards, this person didn't lose anything. They just didn't gain anything. They stayed right at around that 357. So the exact same number. Then what's nice about that is you reset at the bottom of that index and you start participating in gains again. So again, that stair step effect I was talking about before. And this is a fixed index annuity growth type of annuity that really focuses on growth. Obviously, there's income examples. There's all sorts of different examples out there. But I've been going for about 45 minutes here. So I want to open it up now for questions. Feel free to ask some questions in the comments, and I'm happy to answer them.